We are the Arenas, Richard and Ann, members of St. Joseph's Parish. We were married there at St. Joe's 55 years ago. We have 6 married children, and they are the ages from 44 to 54.
This is our first time in showing pictures with our talk, so be patient with us.
Okay, there they are. I thank Jenny for this. She asked if I wanted to use the mouse, and I said, I'm not a mouse person, so would you please do it? Thank you for that, Jenny. Yes, there are 3 boys and 3 girls, ages 44 to 54. And also, we have 15 grandchildren.
From 30 all the way down to 8.
Right. And now that brings our total family membership, that's family, grandchildren, in-laws, etc., to a total of 30 members. Here you see the grandchildren, and I think that's the members, but they're not all present in this picture, but anyhow, there are 30 of them. As our family doctor says, when he gets yet one more arena patient, he said, there must be a whole herd of them out there. And he's right, we are a herd. Actually, I always dreamed of having a large family, and I feel very blessed and very fulfilled in my role as wife, mother, and grandmother. But let's begin at the beginning. I was born and raised in, isn't it cute? I don't dress like that anymore.
I hope not. Not in this environment.
Or any. I was born and raised in Coraopolis, and I'm a lifetime member of St. Joseph's Parish. I have 5 siblings, and my father died when I was 9 years old, and so I owe my upbringing to my mother. My mother was the most influential person in my life. She was a staunch Catholic, but not just Catholic in name and practice, but in her daily life. She taught me true generosity and so many things that I just couldn't. I had no excuse not to be a good mother because I had such a good example. Examples are so important. And now my husband will tell you a little bit about his background.
Well, good morning to all of you. We'd like to share with you our life together and consolidating 20,000 days and 500,000 hours of married life together was challenging. 6 children were in the mix. The grandchildren were in the mix. Work was in the mix. Sickness was in the mix. Like Ann, she lost her father at 9. I lost my father through divorce, which was unheard of back in 1939. We've gone through, at least I have, I won't admit to her, but I've gone through 8 decades of life. I've seen 8 decades. And so during that time of divorce, I was without a father. And I remember very well talking to my older sister. She was 6 years older than me, and she cried when Dad was leaving with his suitcase. And she says, "Daddy, don't go. Don't go." But Mother and Father couldn't seem to make amends. That's back in the days when divorce was unheard, particularly from Italian families. They were very bound up, very tight. But there was too much outdoor entertainment. My father was an entertainer and wasn't home long enough to take care of his family needs. A good man, but he didn't take care of the need by taking care of the family. So we move on. Ann and I met in 1951. That's 60 years ago. That's 60 years ago, 1951. And I was working in a full-service gas station. Most of you probably don't know what a full-service gas station is. But but it's a gas station that did it all. You name it, we did it. And I was very fortunate at 16 years of age to have the confidence of the owner to take part in some of the responsibilities of the station. So in the evening during the summer of 1951, and we're celebrating 60 years by meeting each other, I would see this pretty girl walking by every evening about 9:30. And I said to the fellow that was working there, the older gentleman, we called him Pops. I said, Pops, you see this pretty girl going through here every evening. Where is she going and where is she coming from? Turned out to be she was working for a little dairy store near St. Joseph's Church right across the street. So I would say to her, hi. And she wouldn't say anything. She would just give me one of them little hands up like...
Play hard to get. Play hard to get.
She was. That's how she did things. And the summer concluded. School started. And the first day I'm in school in the old Coriolis High School, who do you think I meet in the school hall? This one over here. And I go, hey, I know you. You walk past my station every night. Who are you? She looked at me, who are you? And I said, I'm Dick Arena. She says, well, my name is Ann Weisner. And that was it. I said, whoa, before you go, do you know that there's a Christmas formal coming up in December? She said, whoa, this is September. And I said, yeah. I said, I'll put my dibs in right now. I'd like to invite you to that formal. She says, I'll let you know. Really, I'll tell you later on. She went to see a friend who knew me as I worked for the parents in a little dairy store that they had. And so she's put a good word in for me. As it turns out, the picture that you see, the first picture that you saw was our formal. I was 16, she was 15. And then we went out to a place after the formal, and here we are, the big shots, 16 and 15, having a good time. And with a borrowed car that I borrowed from my brother, who had confidence in me, I wouldn't bring it back smashed. But I didn't realize it at the time that when I met Ann, coming from an extremely dysfunctional, loving Italian family, but dysfunctional, because they just would rather scream instead of love. And so when I met Ann's family, it was another culture to learn from. It was Irish and Austrian. Now the Austrian came from her father. I didn't get a chance to meet him, but his remnants were there from the Austrian background. The mother was a dedicated, devout Catholic woman. Very wonderful lady. Listened to you when you talk. Great listener. And from that experience, I had a mooring line of stability into that family of great humor from the Irish background, a great stability from the religious background. Conversation was easy to be had. In my family, you couldn't converse. You had to scream. So in her family, we can sit down and talk. So I learned from that, and we built from that particular part of the family. The comment that I really want, after watching what was going on here today, if you'll notice, everybody was referring to God and how important He is to all of us. Taking from an older couple that have been married over 55 years, we found out the real coach that you need in life is God. And seriously, I was in sales for many years, and I know the pitfalls of sales. You're out in the world, there's a lot of temptation, just like in your offices, in your schools. And I found it to be that God is the one who can carry you through all these things. When Ann would come down with a sickness, we called on God. We called on God and thanked God for our dinner. We have a blessing at every meal, thanking God for our food, our environment, our family, and everyone else in this country. Ann and I did a lot of dancing. We loved entertainment. And we'd go to the old YMCA and we would dance. Before I get to those wedding pictures, excuse me, I think I'm behind schedule here. That last shot you saw of us was a Kennywood shot in 1954. And you're now getting into our married life. Did you show the first picture of our married life together at St. Joseph's Church? Okay, I'll bypass that for a moment and get into the picture. I'm not used to working with pictures. I'm a blabber. The first picture that you saw, and you'll see the rest of the pictures, was a very humble wedding but a very religious wedding. The lady to my right who was throwing pennies and combets and rice on me is my mother, God rest her soul. She lived to be 96 years old, and she was strong, religiously and physically. You can tell by her expression, she just wanted to get that rice on me, you know. But we were married very humbly. Ann and I saved up the money ourselves to support our own wedding because her mother being a widow, she couldn't help us. She just gave her blessings, and that's all I really wanted from her was her blessings. And if you'll look and see, we're in Ann's mother's dining room having our breakfast dinner after church. Here we are in her room, in her house. And then the next picture is outside of her house at 507 Mount Vernon Avenue. And the next picture, look at this one. This is showing the meager, humble belongings here. Look at this. We're in the basement of her mother's house, and her brother, God bless him, he was a polio victim. He actually refurbished that basement. You can see the tools in the background, all the outlines of the tools. That was our reception hall in the basement of 507 Mount Vernon. There were several hundred people that came through that door that day to honor our marriage. We were blessed. This is both mother and father. I'm sorry, both mothers. The one on the left is Ann's mother. I'm sorry, the one on the left is my mother. One on the right is Ann's mother, Mary. This is another picture that was taken at our bridal party that we financed on our own. And very quickly, I want to say, God bless this one individual I worked with at Koch and Chemical Calgon Division. I only worked there several months before I was laid off, and we were getting married in April. No money. We had a little bit of money saved for our wedding, but I was laid off. Met a man there at the bar, and I worked with him. He was an older gentleman. No one really paid any attention to this old gentleman, but I befriended him, and we would sit for lunch and spend time with each other. He said to me, he says, Dick, here's $100 for you. Now in 56, this was a lot of money. And I said, Steve, I couldn't take that money from you. As much as I needed, I couldn't take it. He says, I insisted upon it. I said, please, I can't do that. Just give me your blessing. We went back to the bridal party, and a waitress came back and dropped $50 in front of me, and he was no longer to be seen. That was the last time I saw him. So you see a lot of people out there that bless you. You don't realize it, but they are. Again, a borrowed car from my brother-in-law, a 1956 brand new Chevy. We went to New York City by way of Philadelphia in a couple big subs out of Philly that I was familiar with because I worked down there for a while. But here we are in front of St. Peter's Church. I'm sorry?
Patrick.
I'm sorry. What did I say, guys? St. Peter's?
That was wrong.
See, I told you I blab a lot. St. Patrick's in Pittsburgh on the steps. It was the only picture that we got together on our honeymoon. How do you want to take it from here?
Yeah, I'll go back a little bit. And I neglected to say some things, and so did Dick. Maybe I'll get into them short. But after graduating from high school, I worked in the office of U.S. Steel in Pittsburgh. And I continued until after we were married, until the birth of our first child. My career after that was taking care of 6 babies born in 10 years. And that was being a stay-at-home mom and for many years. In later years, I became involved in caregiving and administration work at our home for the elderly. Now, my husband will tell you about his beginnings. You can talk about your conversion.
Yes, thank you.
Father Murphy. Yeah.
Right. If you'll notice, this picture here will show the baptism of our first child with my oldest brother and her sister Mary Ruth, and they're holding our first child, Richard. And this was in 1957, and the presider there was our good Father Robert Murphy. And Father Murphy, I was in sales, and I remember going to the parish house, and I really loved this man because he was such a good man. He gave my mother-in-law some rosary beads from Ireland, and never forgot his kindness and his goodness. And so I went to the parish house and knocked on the door, and lo and behold, Father Murphy opened up the door. Well, here I am, just a young guy, big briefcase, all dressed up. And he said, what can I do for you, my son? I completely lost everything. And I was just silent. And he said, what can I do for you, my son? I said, Father, I want to become a Catholic. And I said, I know that, and you know Ann Weisner said to me personally that she wants to marry a Catholic man. And I said, Father, I need to, since I made a promise to her, that I'll try the church for 1 year, make every holy day Stations of the Cross, and I'll commit to 1 year, and I'll give you my decision at the end of the year. Well, I knew what I was going to do. You know, I know that she wanted to marry a Catholic man, and I was going to make that switch. And I went through the program with Father Murphy, who taught me himself. I didn't have to go to any classes. He worked around my schedule, and I never forgot that. You'll notice his clerical thread runs through our life together, and we'll see more of him throughout our next pictures. Okay. This is called, I'm sorry. Father Murphy did baptize me in 1955, so I've been a Catholic since that time. Thank you for keeping me up to the score here. I'm thrown off between the monitor and what I have to say.
That's my job, to interrupt.
She's been doing a great job of that.
No, I'm sorry.
This picture here has been very delightful for all of us in the family. This was the first time I ever snapped a picture with a remote control. And we were up at our little camp called the Family Circus. And it was in the fall of 1974. All the kids are separated by 2 years. And so we loved that place. It got us together very closely. We went to church together because Ann insisted upon anytime we're on a vacation, like the Crabbles, we need to go to church. That was instilled. And I say, sometimes I'm tired. Do I have to really go to church? Yep. You go to church. You want to take it off from here? All right. I will continue. This is our 25th anniversary here at St. Joe's again. And I was very, very proud to have my cousin, Father Peter, come down from Ohio. He was a precious blood priest, and he came in and blessed our 25th year here at St. Joe's. And that was in 74. This is our 50th that was celebrated by Father Peter again and by Father Michael here at St. Joe's. Okay, Father Murphy again. Here he is in our life again. We have a tradition that Ann and I, every anniversary, we will find a priest and have them bless us that particular day and attend Mass that day. We've done that for many, many years. We went to see Father at the Little Sisters of the Poor. It was at Easter time, because our anniversary is around Easter. And Ann made homemade Pascha bread, that good bread that you get at Easter time. And we brought it to Father Murphy, not knowing that he couldn't even eat it. But he blessed us. And he was very weak, and he says, I can bless you in Latin. Would that be okay? And I said, absolutely, Father. We would be honored if you would bless us. Several days after that, he passed away.
Our subject is family life, and we would like to share some of our experiences and suggestions for a good life together.
You did it. I knew she was going to do it. I didn't know what she was going to do, but she did it.
We'll get to the chef's hat in a minute. In a book by Norman Vincent Peale, he writes of a meeting called by the National Education Society of the University Educators. And the subject was, what is the world's most pressing need and what could be done about it? All these educators agreed that a happy, healthy home is the cornerstone of society. That's setting a good example at home will radiate outward, touching business, industry, education, government, and all phases of society. That's how important we are. I've always felt that starting out right was important, and being married in the church, as you all will be doing, is a sure way of starting out right. And congratulations on your choice. Now to the chef's hat.
Who enjoys cooking? Let me see a show of hands. Who enjoys eating? Oh, we've got it for you. Listen to this recipe. Matter of fact, if you'll open up your folder, you will see our recipe in there so you can take it home. If you want to make some notes on it, take it with you. You'll see the picture of the kitchen put out by Reminisce Magazine. That's it.
Okay, this is our recipe for family life. And the first ingredient in any recipe is a flour. Flour meaning foundation. Foundation or faith. Faith in God, faith in your church, and faith in each other. Attend Mass together as a family, and be attentive and participate in church activities. For us, our way of being attentive was making 6 children and the 2 of us sit in the front pew. If that doesn't put the fear of the Lord in them, to be still, that they're in the front pew. We didn't do the Cheerios on the seats and that kind of thing that they do nowadays. We made them pay attention. Get in the habit of saying grace at your meals. We have so much to be thankful for, and it's good to teach your children to say graces and even make up their own, and you'll come up with some really cute little things. Be thankful for the freedom that we have in this country to exercise our faith. Some of you have probably heard stories of people who are deprived of this privilege, and I'm sure most of us have never been, so you have to consider that and be thankful. Above all, be thankful always to one another. The second ingredient is sugar. Sugar is love, and love does conquer all. Over differences and hard times, love will always see you through. Love and respect each other and all those whom you encounter. Acts of kindness and generosity toward your family and others show love without words. It's been said that the best gift that you can give your children is to love each other. Ann Landers had a quote about teaching your children to love. She said, teach your children to love God and to love his fellow man. Don't send your child to a place of worship. Take him there. Children learn from example. Faith in God can be his strength and his light when all else fails. That was from Ann Landers. The next ingredient is shortening and eggs. And we've taken that as togetherness. As you know, shortening or eggs will hold your recipe together. Strive to have meals together. We've heard this before. And it is important to do this in these busy times, especially when the children come along. This is a good time to catch up. And yes, you're going to have milk spills, but I know the people at my table are going to laugh at this, but when I sat down today, the first thing I did is spill my juice. So I apologize for that, but that's the way it happened in our house. With 8 of us around the table, there's always something spilled. But that time of catching up was just a really good time. Motor parts, for example, all work together when properly oiled and greased, and that's as your mixer is working. This also works with your baking. Establish your own holiday traditions or carry on old traditions, and include your children in these. In our family, my husband coming from an Italian background, we did the big fish, 7 fishes on Christmas Eve, and we still do. In my tradition was putting the manger up without baby Jesus in until Christmas Eve, right before we opened our gifts, and it would be the oldest grandchild who had the chore to take baby Jesus and put him in the manger, and they might sing a little song or something, and then we would proceed with our gift opening. Sometimes you think, why am I doing these things? But our 24-year-old grandson, I think at our last Christmas Eve meeting, he's 24 years old. He's in his 2nd year of medical school, and he came up to me like a little boy, and he says, Grandma, whose turn is it to put the baby Jesus in the manger? So I said, yes, I did. Value your time together. Prioritize. Family comes first. And minimize outside activities. In our situation, we had bought a little camp up in the woods called Forest years ago when the kids were little, and that was so crucial to our family time together. We removed them on weekends from all the activities and everything else going on around them. You do need time. It's nice to have friends, but you do need time alone too with your families. And as far as minimizing your outside activities, we had Dick and I were involved in the PTG very heavily when the children were small, but and that was fine. You know, we felt we were being good parents, and we were. But one night, one of the kids said, "You know, Mom and Dad, you just aren't home anymore," and that really shook us a bit. So this is time to change courses. This was not what we were intending to do. So you have to be careful about that too. The next ingredient is baking powder or yeast, and that is lightheartedness. For heaven's sakes, any recipe needs this to rise above problems. Keep your sense of humor. You've heard that uttered here before, and laughter is the best medicine. And it's also contagious. We've had when I strive to include God in my conversation, especially with the little ones, and I think I was speaking with a kindergarten teacher there, so maybe she could appreciate this, but I was riding along with my little grandson, and the leaves on the trees, it was autumn, and it was just beautiful. And I said, isn't this wonderful to see how beautiful God made the trees? And he said, God made them, Grandma? And I said, yeah. He said, I thought it was Johnny Appleseed. So there went that. Another incident that happened too is I was babysitting, watching two grandchildren, and I guess the little boy at that time was about 4, and his little sister was 2. Well, she was playing upstairs in this wonderful attic we have in our house. The kids all love it. Still has toys in it after all these years. But we were talking. He says, Grandma, who's the boss in your house? Is it you or is it Pap? And I said, oh no, honey. Grandma only has one boss. And I'm pointing upwards, and he says, who, Charlene? Who's his little sister playing upstairs? I said, no, higher. So to this day, we joke about him not going high enough when I point up. But his answer to that was, well, she sure is boss in our house. So, okay, and don't sweat the small stuff. You know, as they say, it's all small stuff. The next ingredient is salt, and salt is stability. Salt is necessary for the preservation of food and the preservation of your family. Be the salt of the earth to your family. When my husband when we were busy raising the children, and he was working for an insurance company at the time, and he had a chance of a promotion in another area. We had the 6 children at the time. And it would have meant more money for him. And however, it would have meant us relocating and pulling up our roots. We had family here, brothers, sisters, parents, and all of that. And we just, he decided to give up that increase to be the salt of the earth, to be stable. Because he felt more needed to keep our family stable. So that's strive to be strong and stable and reliable, however you do this. As salt preserves from spoilage, keep inappropriate inside influences from spoiling your family relationship. And I know Father Rich already touched on things like decency, and some of the outside influences are so difficult these days. There's so much of it, and we wouldn't want that to spoil the recipe. Now, Dick is going to give you the final ingredient, which is flavoring.
To Italians, taste is everything. No recipe is complete without spices and seasoning. We all agree to that. We like spicy food. Keep your zest in life. Don't allow it to fizzle. Keep it zestful, youthful, no matter how old you are. I learned that from my mother. She was in her 90s and still wearing white boots. And I said, Mom, you can't wear white boots. Why can't I wear white boots? I said, Mom, look, your age. She said, I want to feel young, okay? I said, all right, Mom, you win. So keep the zest in your life. This is a real big one to think.